Yo, what is up guys, Boy here, aka Blue Collar Sports TV. Hopefully you guys are doing well. If you're new here, smash that like, hit subscribe, all of that good stuff. So Deontay Wilder predictably knocks out Robert Helenius, but he does it in the very first round. Now going into this fight, I was picking Wilder to win by knockout. So yeah, the result doesn't really surprise me, quite frankly. However, I was expecting more from Robert Helenius. Ultimately, this was the biggest fight of Helenius' career. If he wanted to go anywhere, he had to show out here, but he never really did in my opinion. First and foremost, alarm bells were set off before this fight because Robert Helenius at the weigh-in, in my opinion, didn't really look in good shape. He came in at 253 pounds. Well, he was nearly 254. But, on the scales, I felt Helenius looked fleshy, flabby, and it looked like he kind of got off the couch, to be honest. I know Helenius has never been a body beautiful heavyweight, but I think Helenius better suits the mid 240s, low 240s, and yeah, I felt he looked in pretty bad shape, and in my opinion, that kind of shown out in the ring, in the first round, and obviously this fight ended in the first round. Deontay Wilder did what I was expecting and asking for, really. He was basically taking a look at Robert Helenius. He was backing up, throwing the jab, like a speculative range-finding jab, looking for the openings, not forcing anything, whereas Helenius was kind of following him around the ring, trying to apply pressure. And I said that Helenius should apply pressure, but again, he had to do it in a technically proficient fashion, paying attention to defense, but Helenius wasn't here. He landed a couple of good shots on Wilder, a couple of looping right hands to the body, and they appeared to be hard shots. So they were good shots by Helenius, but right away I realised that he was really reaching with his punches, really reaching in. And of course, as he did that, his head was on centre line. I think he actually caught Wilder with a right hand to the head as well in the first round. So in regards to punches landed, as this fight was closing out, Helenius landed more shots, whereas Wilder was more circumspect. Wilder, his best shot before the knockout was a straight right hand to the body of Helenius. That was a good shot, but apart from that, he really didn't land too much. But towards the end of the very first round, Deontay Wilder backs up into a corner, and Robert Helenius badly overcommits. So as Wilder's in the corner, Helenius opens up and squares up, and he opens up with a looping right hand, and at the same time, he drops his left hand by his waist, so he's a completely free target. Wilder came back with a quick, short right hand, kind of hit Helenius in the face, really, jacked his head back, he went down, and he was knocked out. That was it. And he was on the ground for, I would say, 3 or 4 minutes, So yeah, first round knockout for Deontay Wilder. But Robert Helenius, in my opinion, slow, lethargic, defensively, the openings were there for Deontay Wilder right from the very first bell. He was trying to walk Wilder down, I guess, but, no defense. Either his lead hand was too low, or when he held his hands up, his hands were way too far apart, So the openings were always there for Deontay Wilder, and in combination with that, Helenius reaching in basically with every single shot, and the fact that he was so slow, it was really just a matter of time before Helenius walked onto a shot, and that's exactly what happened. Poor performance by Robert Helenius, it has to be said, and yeah, I know he was the underdog going into this fight, and I picked Wilder by knockout, but, you've got to expect more from Robert Helenius. Poor, really, really poor in my opinion. Let's be real, it looked like he didn't even train leading into this fight. That's how it looked to me. What can you say? But Wilder did his job. He knocked Helenius into next week. And yeah, we'll see what happens next. as of right now, the WBC should order Deontay Wilder versus Andy Ruiz, and that's a fight I would be excited for. I didn't think Ruiz looked too good against Luis Ortiz, and based on what I saw, I think there's a very good chance Deontay Wilder knocks out Andy Ruiz. I know Andy's got a good chin, but based on what I saw from Andy in his last fight, I would make Wilder a favourite over Ruiz. I think he's got a good chance of knocking Andy out, but nevertheless, it's a really good fight. If Andy does get to the inside, gets up close, or if Wilder falls short, then Ruiz can come back with those quick combinations, those quick counters, and maybe affect Wilder. So Wilder versus Andy Ruiz, to me, is the fight to make. I think stylistically it's a good fight. From a PBC perspective, it makes a lot of sense for both guys, and it would be a title eliminator as well. So I think that's I think that is the sensible fight to make next. Deontay Wilder versus Andy Ruiz, and I think that fight would do well on pay-per-view. Wilder's got his fans, Andy Ruiz brings the Mexican contingent, so I think that fight would do well at the box office. But also there's names like Anthony Joshua. That's still a huge fight for Deontay Wilder, and honestly I'd probably favour Wilder over Joshua as well, to be honest with you. Even a Dillian Whyte. I mean, I know Dillian Whyte's just been knocked out brutally, but there's some history there. They could pursue that fight as well. So Wilder's got some money fights out there, there's no doubt about it, but I think the one that makes the most sense is Andy Ruiz. I really do. But yeah, in regards to the undercard, I've not really seen the undercard that deeply, but I saw the highlights of Caleb Plant versus Anthony Durrell. And yeah, Caleb Plant slept Anthony Durrell. I saw the highlights. It seemed like to me that Plant was always a step ahead. I liked that Plant was committing to his punches, and I saw a post-fight interview with his new trainer, Stephen Breadman Edwards, and he said they worked on that going into this fight, more commitment to his punches, and from what I saw based on the highlights, it definitely shown here. So good knockout by Caleb Plant, brutal left hook knockout over Anthony Durrell. Listen, I've never been the biggest fan of Caleb Plant. I don't rate him quite as highly as other people do, but he's a decent fighter. He's got skills, and for me, again, PBC, they have to make Caleb Plant versus David Benavidez. That's a great fight. It makes perfect sense to me, but will it get made? We shall see. Apart from that, Frank Sanchez got a win on the undercard against Carlos Negron. So Frank Sanchez continues his rise in the heavyweight division. And also, I have to say, I've not seen this fight, but I'm pleased that Emmanuel Rodriguez beat Gary Antonio Russell. I felt that Emmanuel Rodriguez, since the Inoue fight, has had some bad luck. I've always rated Rodriguez, to be honest. I rated him before the Inoue fight. I think he's a really good boxer, really, really pleasing on the eye. Good straight punches, does for basics well, really nice technique. I've always rated Emmanuel Rodriguez, and yeah, I mean, he got absolutely robbed a couple of years ago against Raymart Scaballo. I mean, that fight was a flat-out robbery. In the first Gary Antonio Russell fight, he got headbutted, and that was ruled a no contest. So he's had some bad luck in recent years, but I'm pleased that he's got a good win here, and he puts himself amongst the mix once again. But yeah, I mean, I'll probably take a look at that fight a little later, to be honest, because again, I do like Emmanuel Rodriguez. But yeah, it is what it is. Yeah, I mean, that's the card basically. Deontay Wilder knocks out Robert Helenius in 1 round. Share your thoughts below. Peace.